Did you get it unmuted on there? Perfect. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Morning, all.
Morning.
Apologize early for me being here, but Rick's gone, so we have one change on our agenda for the auditor's quarterly report. We'll push that off, so with that change, everything else is good? Okay, with that change, I'd look for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second? A second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion carries. Minutes from 10:04.
They look good, and I'll make that motion.
We have
I'll second that
a motion and a second for the minutes. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion carries. General public concerns. Don't have anybody on Zoom or in here. So moving on to Scott with Avon's Marty Kern.
Okay, good morning.
Morning.
Well, my purpose for being here this morning is real simple and easy and fun. What I am here to do is present a cumulative reserve fund credit check to the board. Originally, coming out of 2020, ICAP, what the cumulative reserve fund is after a 5-year vesting period. Then there's, I think, 5 installments, potentially, of a reserve fund, cumulative reserve fund that would be qualified back. However, they were concerned about, after coming off the derecho in 2020, if those were gonna be delayed or not. The good news, I think they said, with basically, better than average investment returns and things that they were able to provide us. This is our third installment from the pool, and so we have a $6,437.33 cumulative reserve check that I will turn over.
Perfect, thank you very much.
Yeah, and so, and I told Trish on the phone when I scheduled my brief time here this morning, when I get back to the office, I'll email her the spreadsheet, because what we do with the regular premiums throughout the year is we divide that by department, secondary roads, conservation, general fund, et cetera. And so then I'll take that by percentage and give her credits that would go back accordingly, because, you know, this isn't tied to any one specific department or whatever.
It's everything.
It's everything. So I think what we've done in the past with the previous ones have just been returned it as a portion of the premiums paid by department.
Perfect.
So, okay?
I know we didn't get one last year because of their concern of...
We did last year. It was this year, we weren't sure if they were going to have to delay that or not.
Oh, really?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So in August of 2020, we did get a...
We did get
one.
So this, explain again, I mean, is this, do you get this every year because of this fund, or is it, you said something about 5 years?
Right, what it is once a county becomes a member of ICAP, then there's a vesting period, and there's a 5-year vesting period. So then after the 5-year vesting period, then a portion of, if there's reserves, so it obviously depends on how well the pool does.
Right.
Since you didn't qualify for a return on that, those first 5 years, now you get to have a return of, if there's reserves, which means basically premiums are paid, then if claims are terrible, obviously there's a little bit left over for reserves, and then a portion of those reserves will get returned to the vested members.
Okay,
So this
is, as long as that happens every year, any vested member, you could get an amount.
Right, up to, I mean, this particular one will be a 5-year return, and then after that, it's just a general ICAP credit that they would provide. And the ICAP credit is what they did not, none of the pool members received any credit this year. And then they were thinking maybe they would have to delay some of the return on the cumulative reserve fund, but we were able to get our cumulative reserve fund, and then hopefully, if our year goes well, pool-wide, then next renewal, there'll even be the pool-wide credit that comes on.
And the credit would just come off of your premium.
Right, that's given up front. That's a voucher, that one is presented to us in the form of a voucher at the time they give us the renewal.
Okay.
And so the voucher is what we did not receive this year, nobody received it in the pool this year. And we're just getting our cumulative reserve fund, paid back to us. And then, once the last payment of that, we would still obviously participate in the voucher credit, hopefully, going forward.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
Good.
Okay?
Yep.
Awesome.
So that's all we wanted to be here this morning, and,
Well-
wanted to turn that over, I'll get you the spreadsheet, Trish, how to divide that out and provide credit to the budgets, and we'll go from there.
Well, we will make room for you every week for $6,400. I mean, if that wants to, you wanna just put a mark on your calendar, we'll take that check every week.
Sure, that'd be great.
All right, we're done.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Yeah, see ya.
Well, Ben, you're gonna have to really be good and do better than $6,000 check.
I'm gonna actually...
You're gonna spend some money, I see that. I saw that in the blue book, too. Okay.
The first item that I've got on the agenda is to approve pay voucher number 1 for Whiteman Inc., for project BROS Parent 74. This is that project down on Washington Avenue. They should be done today. We hauled rock out there and put rock on the road Friday afternoon, but he was going to dress up the shoulders and basically do his final blessing of it this morning. So this is paying for most everything except for the driveway pipes that he did Thursday and the remaining dirt that we hauled to him on Thursday. Otherwise, this is final quantities for everything else.
So within a couple $1,000, the way it looks?
Yeah, looks like there's about 14,000 left after this, between the pipe and the dirt work. So we'll have a sub-final here 2 weeks from now, and then 30 days after that, we'll finalize the project.
I'll make a motion to pay the voucher number on, County 4674, $89,026.36.
Oh, second Dave's motion.
If I can speak. We have a, motion for voucher number 1 to Whiteman Inc. for $89,026.36, and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion carries. Now we have your yearly inspection.
This is for our bridge inspections that are required by federal law every 2 years. We last did this for a full bridge inspection in 2020. This year, for 2021, I believe there's 2 bridges that are required to be inspected every year. One bridge is Bridge 53, which is the crooked one up by Rick Peterson's home place, and the other one is what we call Borman Bridge, north of Livermore. Those 2 are inspected every year, everything else is inspected every 2 years. Looking at the pricing for the bridges went up about $15 per bridge. So over a 2-year span, they went up $15 each.
So the total's $20,353?
That's what the total will be. Barring any bridges that we've replaced with box culverts like this one that we just paid on, that one won't have to be inspected, so final quantities will be a little bit less than what they've got listed here.
And timeframe wise, are they starting, or are they
It'll be a year from now.
year?
Yep, they come in and they do their inspections the end of October, all of November.
Next year.
Next year,
And that's a 2-year cycle, except for the 2 you listed.
yes.
So when is this $20,000 some dollars paid?
It'll be paid next year when they do the actual work. This is just lining them up for their
Right, this,
services.
you have to agree to it.
Yes.
And they've been doing this for how long for the county?
Hopefully
quite a while.
We had McClure for a number of years, I think till like 2007, and then we switched over to Chuck Dixon.
Any other questions?
Nope.
I'll make that motion to accept, bridge inspection with Chuck Fritzen.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second for our bridge inspection for 2022. Any other discussion?
Send a magnifying glass so we can read that last page?
Yeah, I can,
You really know what that even says, Ben?
I can send you the digital
No,
copy.
no.
It just says what all bridges need to be, inspected. The 4 at the bottom get switched to 48-month inspection, so they're a little less frequent.
Well, it looks like the entire board needs new trifocals for...
I can see better without my bifocals, actually.
All right, no more questions on our reading glasses either then, so we'll look,
Vote.
aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? All in favor, I guess we're good, so...
The last
Discussion.
one, yeah, the last one that I had on the agenda was discussion of a possible ARP project. Out at the county engineer's office, we've got a water heater that is 40-some years old. We've got a drinking fountain that is the original from there. I mean, the water's undrinkable that comes out of it. I know water quality is one of the potential reimbursement items for...
That is a well, right? Out there, or are we on city water?
That's a well.
That's what I thought.
So do we really actually need to get a, would it be better to do a purifier?
Well, what I wonder is, I mean, things that I'd like to see would be, obviously, a new hot water heater. Possibly switching that to an electric hot water heater, which would eliminate a hole in the new roof that we've got coming. It's either that or you could do a power vent and shoot it out the side of the building. A new drinking fountain, hands-free drinking fountain, like one of those water bottle fillers that you...
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
do they bring cups or thermoses for putting in their machines when they
A
leave?
lot of the guys bring just their igloo
Right.
water coolers with them. Removing some of the copper lines and switching over to PEX, capping the roof. Like you said, almost like a whole home water filter that would cleanse the water that's coming out of the well.
So is that how big is the water heater?
Right now, it's 30 gallon.
Which would, I mean, other than washing hands, nobody's showering or
Yeah, there's
doing laundry out
no
there.
bathtub. You're not using, I mean, you could almost get by with the hot water on demand underneath the sink versus an actual hot water heater. You could definitely get by with a 20 gallon,
Right.
but I guess I just wanted to plant the seed.
No, I think you're on track with the, drinking water situation. Somehow that seems to be a qualifying project,
Yeah. I just wanted to bring it up, obviously, because we've got a new roof scheduled.
Yeah, that makes sense, but not be putting holes in it.
If we were to move forward and start getting quotes from local contractors to switch, even to just switch our water heater over.
Right.
If we switch that over from gas to electric, we can eliminate the roof then.
do they have any pellets or anything to put in that well? I mean, they have those chlorinators, but I didn't know if the well was, is it hard water, is it?
I haven't shocked it personally. I don't even know where the wellhead is at, out of the county shed. I know where the septic tank's at. I don't know where the wellhead, oh, I do. It is, just north of the new shed on the east side of the lot. We've got an agreement between us and Humboldt Motors. The well is on our property, they utilize it, and they pay for any maintenance or repairs to the well itself, which they did some repair work in 2017.
I mean, is the water quality okay?
The water quality is fine. I mean, we drank it for years. It's just to the point where nobody will drink the water that comes out of that drinking.
Not that it's toxic, it just doesn't maybe taste very good. Yeah, so like Sandy said, maybe a...
Between old copper line and an old water cooler.
Yeah, and then, like you said,
It's got a tinny taste to it.
like you said, the lines and the old equipment and that might be the fault. Not the water so much, just what it's going through.
Right.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it would
That's fine.
have our blessing to
Yeah,
look into it, and if we can use that,
Definitely.
Somebody
that
could
funding,
tell us, Ben, everybody else, you know, that this qualifies for the ARP money, that's a fine use for it.
I guess I'll default to Trish. The water quality is still listed as a potential ARP reimbursement.
I think so. I haven't heard anything different, but that doesn't,
It seems like it's constantly changing.
yeah,
Well,
but that doesn't make sense.
When and if that ever gets sorted out, so that these potential projects can get moved forward,
Mhm.
I would think this would qualify, especially the water situation.
and I guess I would just I don't know what you have to do to test the well. I mean, we can call Pocahontas and
Mhm.
Just get a sample.
have them
Yeah,
sample
we
it.
probably should.
And make sure that it's drinkable. I'm sure it is. But I'm sure there's probably a lot of, it might be a little hard. There's a lot of calcium.
We've got a softener.
Oh, all right. But I don't think we'll need a 40-gallon water heater to wash hands and whatnot, so I guess we might downsize that and upsize the drinking stuff, so it's fine with me.
Okay.
Would agree.
But, and if are they scheduled to actually replace that roof in December?
Yeah, the materials have been ordered.
What do you think the chances of knowing anything about ARP money by then is?
I think it'd be really good. I mean, I don't, yeah.
Because otherwise, you're just gonna have to go ahead with, as far as the water heater situation, so you don't have a hole in the roof
Right.
prior to...
Which, I mean, we could, for as little as we use it, we could shut the hot water heater off and
I'm just...
cap it with the intention of replacing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
We have the, in my shop, we have one of them little 5-gallon heaters
Yep,
that
goes under the sink.
On
it
demand?
goes under your sink
Yeah.
and turn it on, but you only have whatever, the gallons are so few, you gotta wash quick if you're gonna wash your
Right.
hands with warm water, but it only takes like 20 minutes and it's back to water, or warm water again, so to me, those are pretty slick, so. I just check into them and
Yeah.
we assume we don't wanna put another hole in our roof.
No, I don't
They have
Well,
several
that's
different
what
styles.
I'm trying to do, knowing that we've got a new roof coming, is trying to eliminate whatever we have for...
Right.
For holes.
That's a good idea.
I
Yeah.
agree.
No, I agree, yep.
Agree.
There's several different styles of those on demand, so, you
Right.
know, you can...
They're pretty good now.
Oh, yeah.
They'll work just fine,
Mhm.
unless you put a bathtub in there.
No intention.
Okay, good to know, good to know. Write that in case there's no bathtub, they didn't do it.
Everything else on the roll out there?
Everything else is going well. My boat shop is finishing up mowing their gravels. Humboldt has switched over and started mowing back slopes where the farmers have removed their crop. Hardy's been busy resetting cross pipes. Grout Scouts is in doing their thing. They're actually starting to grout the pipes now. They've done the hand patching inside the pipes, now they're pumping the grout. South of Hardy, one of the larger culverts that goes through the dredge ditch, be north of Wordland's place. That one's getting pumped with grout today.
How big is that?
5-footer.
And do they actually line that?
No, so what they do is they hand patch all of the cracks.
Right.
And then they drill holes and they start pumping flowable grout, flowable mortar into all those until they start seeing it coming out of the next hole
Start
over.
seeping.
And then basically they fill all of the voids that haven't popped to the road surface yet.
Isn't it similar to what they do with, when you have a sidewalk that's kinda
Yeah,
sunk, they
They
pump
do
that?
the same work
Yeah.
with sidewalks, so right now I've got plans for them to do, there's one spot up on C-26 on the Bradgate Blacktop where we patched for a culvert. If you've driven it, you've felt it, so they're gonna try and pump that slab to pick that up and level that,
Yeah, excellent.
so that's one of their roughly 30 locations that they've got.
Hmm. So hopefully the whole rain will hold off. Are they talking rain like tomorrow afternoon, Wednesday?
Yeah, tomorrow and all day
Yeah,
Wednesday.
Yeah.
that's what I thought, yeah.
I guess they adjust and probably don't do that in rain then.
Yeah, Wednesday.
All right, well, that sounds like a plan. I guess do some checking on your water issues and we'll go from there. Thank you.
That is all I have.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay, looks like our update with Dawn is at 9:10.
Go to
Yeah, we can do claims and move to some of the other stuff. So,
Okay, I've got general at $367,937.66, and drainage at $45,419.20. So I'll make that motion.
I got the same, second.
we have a motion and a second for the claims as quoted. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The reason that we changed the number on those claims was Todd brought in a couple of park, for Mid-America that didn't get in there, so the ladies in the other room made a quick adjustment and got them claims added to the, so they'll, won't be late on their numbers there, so. Anyway, we still have some time. When Trish comes back, we can...
I know that we got handed the sheriff's report.
Sheriff's and the recorder.
Did we get the recorder?
Mhm. Yep, we got
Okay.
3 quarters, yep.
I guess we got both of them now.
She's got a decent sum.
Hmm?
I said, the recorder got a decent sum.
Tax time? Is that the reason there's so much?
I don't know,
Just, some of the stuff that goes through the office.
county and state, so. Official license.
Which one do you want to go to next, Trish? You wanna go to the recorders? We have the numbers there in front of you.
Yep.
Diane's, we're assuming everything's on the, or she would be down there explaining what she has done, but
Looks like the total is $102,376.02. So it's a nice little sum. I'll make that motion to accept her quarterly report.
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second to accept the quarterly report from our recorder. Any other discussion? That's for ending September 30th. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion carries. Then you have
Sheriff's report.
sheriff's report in front of you. And I would assume the same, that all is in order with, or Dean or Cory would be in here pleading their case.
I got receipts and distribution of $8,453.52.
That's what I see.
Yep, I'll second that.
Motion and a second, any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Pose same sign. Anyone on the bottom? Motion carries. Okay. Next on the list is approval resolution 2021-21. Approving the transfer of funds from capital projects to conservation.
And this is for money that was put into the capital project fund for the dam project. And we're just allocating a little at a time for that, an amount of $31,984.85. 984.85.
And I'm assuming that's probably to pay some of the bills of the
Yeah.
Consulting.
consulting group that is working with them.
Okay, I'll make that motion to accept, the transfer of funds for resolution 2021-21.
Second Sandy's motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2021-21 for $31,984.85. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion carried. Now you have a review of the city of Humboldt's notice regarding voluntary, what's going on down there?
Application for voluntary annexation.
Municipal, at the municipal building, October 18th.
Yep,
Where are they annexing?
looks like northwest of town.
You've got the orange property.
Oh,
Where they've got the,
Yeah, they got
compost pile.
compost.
the, yeah.
Are they annexing all the farm ground around it?
I don't know of all of it, but they're doing something.
It's like it's 2 acres.
Oh.
It's a small area.
Yeah.
It's just the, yeah, it's compost pile.
Yeah,
I think that
on the map.
eventually, isn't that gonna be a industrial park? Isn't that their plan?
Hope, I guess.
There,
Mhm.
and within a few years, when they, if they need a development area, that's what their hope would be.
Yeah.
It also says that including a portion of 16th Avenue, 215th Street, lying between Kentucky and North 21st Street.
yeah, right. Did you wanna see the map?
Are they, so they're annexing
Here.
part of Kentucky or just?
The very
They're over
back
to
part of
Kentucky.
So will they go to the center line of Kentucky, I wonder?
I'm
It
assuming,
doesn't matter, I mean, we'll maintain the gravel still. It'll just matter for drainage.
That'd be the Bjornson farm?
Yep.
yeah.
Looks like
Now, is that,
more than 2 acres.
is that green area, is that the, where Ben used to live, that, I'm assuming that's taken out of there?
Cemetery.
Oh, that's the cemetery, so then,
Cemetery,
That little gray spot right there is his place. So like,
coming up 19th Street, that would be the cemetery.
okay. So I guess there's an area there where the old farm the new people live there.
Basically, I think it says, if you read, informing that there will be a consultation meeting, at the
We
city
don't need
council
any-
chambers on October 18th.
Everything is,
Yeah.
All it says is you are hereby notified that Humboldt City Council has received an application from the Humboldt County Development Association for a voluntary annexation of a parcel of land that it owns adjacent to the municipal city limits of Humboldt, encloses a copy of the application which is set forth for specific legal description and location of the land proposed of annexation in the corporate city limits of Humboldt.
the meeting will be held the 18th.
Yes.
At 1 PM.
So, I guess this is just an informational, there's no action on this.
Nope.
Okay. Good luck with that. We have the claims done. We still have 5 minutes. Unless we can jump into drainage and do that, or do you wanna just do your committee reports?
The committee.
What is this here, Trish?
That's for Kim.
Okay. Why don't we do our committee reports, then by then is, I'm assuming, Dawn is gonna
Yep.
Zoom?
And I think she's coming here in person.
Oh, all right, okay. I mean, when she comes in, we can, wherever we're at, we can stop.
Sounds good.
Ben, are you gonna go to that meeting then, for the annexation thing?
I will try to, yeah, I'm
Okay.
putting it in my calendar.
Okay.
What, next Monday at 1 p.m.?
1 PM, yep. I can put it in mine too.
All right, Sandy, go ahead with your
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't...
stuff for whatever you did last week, your committee reports.
Okay. Well, believe it or not, I'm on the wrong week. Can you
Oh, no.
believe that? Okay. On Tuesday, in the afternoon, I had a phone conference with McKinley Bailey on building families regarding the 28E and how we might want to move forward. He wanted to know if maybe we wanted to wait till Hamilton County did theirs, to see if we wanted to maybe incorporate some of how their wording is and what they're doing, because they haven't got that quite nailed down yet. He's very excited to get started and get going, so that we do the business plan for kitty cat daycare, because that's a very important step, is getting that business plan going and things like that, so that we can start growing our capacity next door and with the daycare, and what we need to do moving forward to enhancing and helping the daycare with employees, things like that. Okay. Let's see if I can't remember if I had anything else. No, I did not have anything else.
Nothing else?
Nothing else.
I had nothing official.
This past Monday, on the 4th, that morning, we had a Public Safety Commission meeting, called the LAC meeting, 7:30 Monday morning, I was at that meeting. And that was the only official extracurricular meeting I had.
Okay, for me, Monday after we left, I called Joel out at Sands Construction, questioning if they had any ideas or if have done anything for air purification system for up here in the courthouse. So I visited with him, and I also talked with, who was the one in Badger?
Jay, no electric?
the other one?
Oh, he told me who that was too.
No.
Not Orr, St. Bailey.
The one on the...
I
He's
talked
done
to-
work here before, you said.
Yeah, he's up there work, Armstrong, there you go. Because with the boiler system, there's only so much you can do on an air purification system, so knowing that Armstrong had done some work for my son-in-law and my daughter, then I visited with them. They're both checking to see if there's anything they can add to our boiler system in order to help purify the air up here, which also qualifies for our ARP money. Then I also, on Tuesday, I visited with McKinley Bailey also on daycare, because I still had a couple of questions in my head rumbling around, trying to figure out how and what we're gonna do with that, and him and I visited for quite some time on the business plan, because I just couldn't get that in my head about doing the business plan after we've allocated money towards them. But knowing that the business plan, the thing is understaffed, underused, and we have to raise the rates for the people in order to get the more revenue coming through. That's part of the business plan. So the things that they're doing in other places, McKinley is very confident that we will be able to increase the flow over there. And if we don't get more kids coming through the door, we aren't gonna be able to make it work, so. I guess we visited for quite some time, and then you guys had your meeting. I talked to him before that, but, I was happy with the outcome, so I just had a couple of conferences on the phone. I didn't have any official meeting. And I see our 9:10 is here. I'm assuming you're Dawn?
I am not.
I didn't think somebody just walked in with a clipboard wanting to listen to us, so, welcome.
Hi, Dawn.
You know, your voice sounds familiar from when you called and...
Yeah, I think the last time that I came in person, I think you were absent that day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Point me out now.
I'm
shaking my head.
No, it's someone absent, and I think you were...
I started the guy. Thank you. Well, welcome, and I guess we look forward to our update for a regional update here.
And am I on just 10 minutes, or...?
Well, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
We're gonna cut you after 2 or 3 hours if you got that much.
It won't take that long.
Okay, yeah, you're 15.
You don't think, okay. I am, well, first I'll introduce myself, I'm Dawn Messer, CEO for Rolling Hill.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And, I am in the process of just getting out to all of the county boards of supervisors currently to provide updates on what's happening within the region, particularly because we have a lot of moving parts right now with our access center up in Sioux City, and I'm sure Sandy keeps you apprised of the Rolling Hills board meetings.
She does.
The progress that we've made, but I just feel it's good to connect with all of the boards on a local level, and, because you've got a lot of stake in the game. So I do this periodically. So as far as core service development, by July of this year, we were supposed to have in place all the core services, and there's no region in Iowa that has met that benchmark yet. We're all working very diligently to get our core services developed that are codified. So we have currently plans in place for our access center, and it is going to be located in Sioux City, which is not ideal for our eastern and northern counties. However, we already had a building that is providing 23-hour crisis observation in Sioux City, as well as crisis residential. They have 9 beds for crisis residential. And so for us to be able to add subacute services, which is basically a step-down level out of a hospital environment, and the person could be court-ordered to this subacute level of care if need be, Whereas with crisis residential, you cannot be court ordered. So, in order to add that service, we will need the designation of having an access center within our region. So as far as getting folks to that facility throughout all of our 10 counties, we have already worked with the Yes Center out of Cherokee, and Cheryl McRory, who's the director, is willing to expand her transportation services so that if we have someone that is in Humboldt County or Pocahontas or Calhoun on our eastern side, that option is available so that we're not taking law enforcement out of the county, clear to Sioux City and back. So we're still working on, the nuts and bolts of that, but I'm feeling really confident about us meeting that deadline by July of next year. So as far as the core service designation, the other service that we are working on developing is intensive residential service homes. And those are the only services that we are lacking in our region, and Trivium, which is also based out of Sioux City, is the one and only willing provider to step up and do that. And this is a level of support that is higher than any rehabilitation home in the community. It's for folks that are just rebounding in and out of the hospital. They have very high complex needs, and they need that higher level of support. In fact, the staffing ratio is 1 to 2.5. So it's a very intensive level of care. And they feel confident because they have their policies and procedures in place, and they are already licensed to be able to provide that service, that they will have a home open within our region within 6 months. So we're really looking forward to having that available. And I hear time and time again from our regional coordinators, oh, this person really needs an IRF home, this person really needs an IRF home. So hopefully we can get that up and running. So questions about those services before I go into the financing of the region?
So how many, I forgot again, how many rooms will be available for the IRF home?
For the IRF, she is looking at having 8 beds available in a duplex environment. So
Okay.
they would be able to share staff on each side. So it would be 4 and 4.
Are these new requirements?
Yes. Well, I shouldn't say new. They've been in the code language since it passed originally, but when the children's system was designated to the region, there were some services that were considered optional services, that if there were funds available, that you could provide these services. And when they added the children's mental health to the system 2 years ago, they pulled all of the optional core services and made them core. So we had more to do when we thought that we had everything in place.
So these are semi-additional things that you're speaking
Yes,
of?
yes, and very costly.
Yes.
The Access Center, I have just been told ballpark figure of operational of the Access Center, that's gonna be $2 to $3 million a year. I think that's extremely high.
Wow.
I know that there are other regions that do have an Access Center, and they're funding it much less than that. So I'm hoping that that's just the high figure that we've been given by Siouxland Mental Health, and that it's not going to be that high, because obviously that's about the only thing we would be funding out of our budget, because our budget is currently almost $9 million, and that would take a huge
No kidding.
portion of it.
Mhm.
Do you guys use any other facilities for transportation? Because I know I'm on the Central Iowa Juvenile
Yes.
Detention, they have transported all over the state.
Actually, we've already gotten a few bills from Central Iowa, I believe from Humboldt County. So with you guys being closer over this direction, yes, they have, they do, I know all of our sheriff's departments utilize them.
That's-
But we have a contract through Rolling Hills with our East Good Synergy Center, with the F Center.
Well, I just know that I've been pushing it with Dean, because when we only have 1 or 2 deputies working, and to have to take one of our
Yep.
people off patrol to transport somebody to Des Moines or transport somebody somewhere, it cuts our,
Yeah, and I've made them aware of that. I've met with law enforcement a couple of times. We've had meetings when we were doing the transition, and they're very much aware that they have those 2 options available.
good.
The other thing that I wanted to connect with the county board of supervisors on is the financing of the region. So with Senate File 619 passing this last legislative session, it really changed the landscape of how we're going to be funding services going forward. We had set our budget on a $39 per capita for this fiscal year, and that was reduced down to $21.14. So all of the county levies were reduced by the Department of Management down to $21.14, and then we received a state appropriation of $15.86, which still undercut our budget by $2 per capita. So we're at 37 currently in our distributions, and so we're going to be obviously dipping into our fund balance by a little over $1 million to make up that deficit. Right now, our fund balance is in really good shape, but am I concerned about the long term? Yes, because of the 40%. This is the fiscal year we have to get down to 40%, and then any dollars over that 40%, they are taken back to the state and deposited into an incentive fund. So the thing that county supervisors that I am warning, giving this kind of fair warning about, is that your fund balance that is in your Fund 10 is eliminated at the end of this year, and it is forwarded to the region. So we are very much monitoring the county and regional balances very closely, because right now I think we ended fiscal year '21 at about 80% in our fund balance, and we are hoping to get that spent down to 40, and we've done some things that are going to make it easier to do, because we had to purchase the Sioux City property from the Supervisors region, and that was $350,000. And then there's also a remodel that's getting started currently, that the estimate came in at $400,000 for the remodel. So we're doing some things that were not budgeted that I think is going to help spend that fund balance. But unfortunately, Fund 10 is eliminated at the end of this year, and I have had questions, is there anything we could do as a special project to keep the dollars within our county? And unfortunately, no, that's not permissible, because the dollars in your county balances belong to the region. So we don't want to have to revert any dollars back to the state. We want to make sure that we are fully invested in our services, all of our services that we need, so that we are not going to be penalized long-term. So future years, after this fiscal year, we have to be down to 20% the following year, which does not allow for the first quarter of operations, and the following year after that, 5%.
Which doesn't leave much money in balance in case something would pop up that was an emergency or...
Well, and it's completely opposite of how I have budgeted for the counties of the region all these years, because I would always pull those budgets together, recommend a levy to the counties based on what you needed for your contribution, and then also recommend a levy to the region for those counties so that we could meet our budget. Now, we're getting to be given a capped dollar amount going forward, and we have to fit our expenditures within that cap. And the risk in all of this is hoping that what we are intended to receive, that we get it all, because if we're also entering on January 1st into performance-based contracts with the state, and with those performance-based contracts, if we are out of compliance, they have the ability to uphold or withhold up to 15% of our allocation every year. So we don't want that either, because that is just going to further restrict our ability to provide services that we need.
So all the rules that the state are set in stone?
Yes.
They've changed everything, and all the rules are now...
Yes.
That we abide by, just makes...
That's a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder what their end goal legislature was with all this.
Well, I can tell you my opinion.
You certainly can, we love to hear it.
Okay, and if there's any media here, this is my opinion only, and I will stress that. So, I really think that this is going to be aligned with the Department of Public Health regions, and there are 6 of them across the state, so if you just Google the Iowa Department of Health, or Public Health regions, you will see that the region in northwest Iowa is 17 counties. And I have made that comment to Marissa Ianson, who is the division administrator, and she said, I won't disagree with you, but that is probably where it's headed. But both of those agencies are already forming an alliance, and they are merging some of their services, and I really think that that's where it's headed.
But the people in Des Moines only remember that they're in the Des Moines metro. They don't remember, all of us up here in
Yep,
smaller counties that don't have them facilities or the doctors, that, you know, it's nothing for you to put them in a vehicle and drive 2 to 3 hours, whatever it is. That's
mhm.
the part that's
They forget.
hard to understand.
Yeah, because it's making the operations of the region very, very difficult.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be. You know, as far as budgeting next year, it's gonna just be a financial nightmare for me. It really will.
Right.
Well, when they started selling this package, remember 2 years ago, when we were in Des Moines, and they said, oh, the contiguous county deal shouldn't be an issue.
Right.
Well, it shouldn't have been until we got chopped,
Right.
so then we
Then it
had to go
wasn't.
shop, and we end up, and I'm not, nothing against you guys, but
Yeah.
it's something that all of a sudden you're just left alone.
Right.
Mhm.
So-
Well, and the sad part of it too is they can come in and determine that our budget, and that irritates me, is them, state can come in and say, oh, well, we don't like that of your budget, so you can just take that off. And it could be a very important service, but since it's not a core service, but it can really be detrimental to the person who receives this service. And the state doesn't think it's necessary, they could just say, it's gone.
Yeah, the legislation did allow for DHS to approve, deny, or modify all of the regional
Mhm.
budgets. So they could say that transportation being a non-core,
Yep.
that you're funding, you know, 100,000 in transportation costs a year, this is not a core service, and they could cut it out of the budget,
Right.
and who's gonna get the service, and how are they going to, you know, have access? So,
Yep.
It all
Oh,
goes
I
back to
definitely
the
Do you think
same,
they're trying to just
Large
basically
counties that
Yep.
make this
people
an
working.
impossible
Right.
way to operate?
and our two
Yeah.
sheriffs
To
are
another
working at night.
agency.
Exactly.
yeah, and I've had,
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
it's-
other supervisors, because this is the third board that I'm getting out to, other supervisors in different counties say that, you know, it just feels like we're being set up to fail.
Yes.
But we're gonna do the best that we can, and fortunately, I have a very good governance board who is very knowledgeable, understands, they are very critical thinkers, and, yeah, and that makes all the difference, it really does, the level of
Yeah.
knowledge on the board.
I feel very comfortable with our board.
Yeah.
Everybody cares, everybody really looks at what's the best use of money and bottom line.
As evidenced by our last board meeting, it lasted 3 hours.
Yes.
I feel bad for some of you that have to come over an hour to get there, and you're not getting home until 7 o'clock at night. Those are the main things that I wanted to share with all of you. Just real quick, I did have, I reached out to Plains Area Mental Health Center to find out if you guys have any mobile crisis calls. She said that, she responded that they've been to Pocahontas County, but they have not gotten a call yet from Humboldt, so.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes,
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
but yeah, you guys are fully covered there for mobile crisis, so we're, you know, making sure that if you guys do have that need, we've got it available to you, so.
Well, we appreciate
Yes,
you
thank you.
coming and reaching out to us, and we also appreciate the fact that hopefully, we're learning. It's kind of like baptism by fire,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
It
And-
feels like it really does
Yeah.
for me too. This is completely different model of the financing, and then it just feels a little daunting, hoping that you land on your feet at the end of the year,
Right.
where you need to be and meet all these targets, so.
And that's the point that I guess is scariest when you're getting ready to go into budget time, of making sure that our numbers are gonna be able to reflect whatever we need to cover.
Well, and at first when the legislation passed, I was thinking, well, this will make budgeting super easy because it will just be the region's budget because the counties aren't gonna have a per capita next year. It'll be all state funded. Well, then you still have staff. So with Kathy, being an employee here, then you'll still have to budget for that. However, her salary and benefits is 100% reimbursed by the region, but we are waiting for direction from the county finance committee met last Thursday, and we are hoping to get some written guidance as far as what fund the mental health, because Fund 10 being eliminated, which really was easy to track dollars in and out, because you had a separate fund that was standalone. Well, now, the county finance committee is supposed to be giving us direction as far as what fund that should go into. Probably general supplemental, and they're also talking about some kind of a sub-fund. And my suggestion to our CEO group was, why not Fund 10 as a sub-fund then, instead of creating a whole other fund? So, I know that some of the counties have been concerned about liability, because what happens if our allocation from the state is reduced and we can't reimburse the counties enough in salary? Right now, we've got, between all of our coordinators and the 3 advocates that the region reimburses, $900,000 in salaries are going out from the region. So,
A lot of money.
What's the scary part is when our engineer comes in and has his budget of, a motor patrol and a dump truck, we know what we're getting.
right.
You are gonna spend that, sooner or later, the equipment shows up, we write the check, everything's good. With that, you just hope and pray that everything is, 'cause you don't know how many you're gonna actually be faced with of taking care of. That is the unfamiliar, the scary part, I guess,
It's a huge challenge.
for all of us.
Yeah.
So I guess if,
The next
I would
3
just
years
tell
will be
you,
interesting, I think, don't you think? The next 3 years will be the,
Yeah, I think it's 3.
yeah, I mean, that's how I feel. I mean, for everything that I've read, or everything that we've talked about.
2024 is the last year.
Yeah.
in the legislature.
And that'll, yeah.
well, I would just say that if you have things that you don't think you're getting from us, and reach out to us, 'cause we're all learning, I guess. Hopefully sometimes you might have to kick us in the butt a little bit to get us to do whatever. I'm just...
Well, likewise, you can always get a hold of me. I know Sandy's got my cell phone number, and, you can call me at the office or my cell phone either way, if you ever have questions for me, and, so, okay.
Thank you very much for
Yeah,
coming.
thanks, Dawn.
No, thanks, Dawn.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Thank you for your time.
Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. I'm gonna need a box of it this next.
Yeah.
All right.
We're there.
All right, have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, we got through our committee reports.
That was just...
Now we just gotta go to, or you have to go into drainage for this, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Motion to go into drainage.
Are you done with us, or are you gonna, do you have anything else you wanted to tell us, or when Kim's done, we can have her dismiss us?
You can be just...
Okay. Well, I just wanna make sure you didn't have something that you wanted to go over.
You do?
Now be the time.
I just happened to be looking for our files in our vault. And I came across this courthouse inspection from 2019 on the roof. And it shows the status of it and to follow up in 2021. And I'll just pass it around for your information for...
Was that just specifically for the roof?
Didn't we have a few issues that, I don't even remember who'd come and checked it.
Say on there.
Who's it from?
Vince Poland?
ElevateRoofers.com?
Yeah.
Oh, sir, yeah, that just, yeah, Elevate Roofs.
Well, this
Dennis and I
I know Rick's been up there and looked at it. Those pictures aren't very good. I mean, the way with a flat roof, and you have the heat that you have in the summertime and cracking, and so I guess we probably need to do that before the snow starts flying, of having, but didn't Rick say something about that company went out of business, or?
Yeah, they did. We were going to check,
So we were gonna check with, what's the names, was it Eagle Grove?
yeah. We do
Sadler.
Sadler.
Yeah. Yeah, they do a lot of roofs.
Oh, I know they did, that revamp of Wright County's courthouse, did some roof issues that they had, and changed some windows, so I would put a note to Rick, maybe he has talked with them, I guess I don't know
Okay.
where I think that goes back to our overall list of how we track things again.
Mhm.
Got any?
I know we had talked about it with the ARP, trying to fit it in there, and then kind of got
No.
sidelined,
Our
so
roof,
finding that to me.
polyurethane coating put back on.
Information that it's,
Mhm.
Well, I guess the thing that, I don't know, those pictures aren't very good,
Mhm.
but whether that would make it, I don't know. You're getting, the sun is less power, losing its warming ability, and whether you wanna tar a roof, replace some of them spots, I don't know. Somebody that knows more about it, we probably need to have them get on the roof and take a look at it and give us an update as to what we're gonna do, so. I'd put it in, note to Rick, did he get a hold of Sadler's, or... With that, anything else? Nope. Now I'll take your motion there.
Okay.
We have a motion to go into drainage in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, pose same sign. We are into drainage.
Might check into a polyurethane roof up there, put a film over it.
Well, if you read that, his cover letter just basically said it was okay, and then you should reevaluate it this year.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, if someone has talked to Sadler's, if they can come and look, give us an idea, and if there's any chance of ARP money paying for it, it'd be a good time to get it scheduled.
Well, I think that was what Rick had mentioned, that he was going to visit with Sadler's to see if we could get on their list, or, but I don't know where it ever ended up, so.
Good morning.
Morning. We are, if I find the right spot.
Drainage District 7, Sub 2.
Yeah.
Levy assessment.
Do the improvements that we did in 7 Sub 2 for Rutland Township. We need the board's approval on the required levy for doing the assessment of 94.1% for a total of $88,619.14.
So anybody got any,
Well, I just a question on, what is the 94.15% percentage of? How does it come to that percentage?
The total assessed units was 94,121.
Okay,
And if we would assess it at 100%, we would need $94,121. But since there were some funds left in there from the previous levy in 2020, and then we have $93,000 between rightful and engineering costs.
so basically the fact that the 94.15%
Right.
was that there was money in the account, so you don't need to levy
Right.
the whole amount, you can use some of that money.
Correct. We only need to levy 94% of that.
To cover the 88,619. Okay.
Well, that's what yes, it would be the 88,000.
That's why I gave you all a copy of my worksheet.
Now, does that leave any money in the fund?
just don't we always try to leave some
So I
cushion
need
in
some per
there?
district for incidentals, so you don't have to levy every year.
Somebody has a
Right.
broken pipe and rather
I'm
than...
allowing a reserve of 2,000,
Okay.
and that's on the...
And this is a relatively small district, so
Yes.
that's probably fair. Just checking, because there was money there, but you're still leaving some money there after this.
Right. And that's just, a lot of that's just gonna cover if there are any incidentals that do come in that would require a little bit of interest.
well, that makes sense, just... So, yeah, there's nothing else, this covers all of their expenses in that district that are zeroed out with this levy.
Right, the initial cost that, with, like I said, with engineering costs and Reitzel that did the contract, it would have been, if we would have only had those expenses, it would have been $94,000. But with a little bit of the fund money that was in there, plus take into consideration that, not all of this will be paid in full, it will accrue a little bit of interest.
Okay, explain that a little bit. What's gonna accrue interest?
If somebody doesn't make their payment.
Right,
Somebody
if somebody
doesn't pay the
doesn't
whole
make
thing.
a
Whole
whole
thing.
payment.
Okay, so that they don't pay whatever their levy ends up being,
Correct.
then there's gonna be interest, they're gonna pay it in installments.
Pay it over time.
Right.
In the...
Okay, so you're gonna add, so the $2,000, you're gonna add a little interest money back, and that's where it does list where the fund balance came from, was a little over $1,600 interest in that fund. You expect a
Right.
little bit of that to come
Right.
back.
Right, so the interest that would accrue on that $93,000 is $1,639, so that's why we're putting the reserve of $2,000. It will cover that little bit of interest.
All right.
And we did set this up for installments over 10 years.
10 years. Of course, you don't know till people get the levy and contact you if they wanna pay it or just wanna make installments.
Right, they have the option to
Either.
return, you know, their signed waivers.
Right. Right.
What's the difference of the $5.50 roughly between the total debt and the total levy?
I'm sorry? What is,
Total debt is $613.62, total levy is $619.14. Down here on the bottom.
I see that.
Here and here.
That should be the same, shouldn't it?
no,
No?
no. The total debt is your previous funds, the actual fund balance, what is owed, interest minus your reserve account. The computer, when you set up total debt, that's, let's see, how would I explain this? It's everything that you enter per unit, it's a price per unit. And then in order to obtain at least that total debt, you take the total debt divided by the total units, and that's what gives you your percentage.
Okay.
But you have to have, to cover that total debt, and it's odd, you would think in order to cover your total debt of $88,613, that would be 100%, but that's not how it works because it's based per unit.
Okay. Makes sense.
Kind of.
I just rely on the computer.
Why?
It splits it out equally on a per unit basis.
Right.
Which alters it by that few dollars.
Right, and with me, this being my first time doing this, to me, I would think you would levy at 100% to cover that total debt, but that's, it takes into consideration your interest, the reserve amount, and what your beginning balance is.
Right. Okay, well, that makes sense, it's a learning process for all of us.
This has been.
I bet.
That's good, because there'll be more things levied down the road, so...
Yeah,
It'll
we'll
be
have...
the same, it'll be the same, it's always the same protocol when you decide what the levy is on every district, I'm sure. So you've learned quite a bit from this one then.
Oh, absolutely,
So,
and
we need an action.
Right.
we do.
I'll make the motion to approve the levy for, District 7, sub
Sub
2.
two.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second for District 7, sub 2, for the assessment of 94.15, for a total of 88,619.14. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion carries.
And, I can just do a quick follow-up. Last week's minutes that we did on the boat area for DD 103, I was able to contact Rick Hopper and just give him the information. I basically just sent him the copy of our minutes from last week, telling him that we would be looking at hiring an engineer. And he's done, I did find some information. He had, there was one note in the file back in 2014 where they had done some surveying and had hired Mansky to do 430 feet of tile replacement that they did on the south side of the tracks. And there's one note back from 2005 that they were looking at, there was to be a 15-inch bypass around the elevator, but apparently it doesn't look like anything was actually completed. His notes in here just state that they recommended either replacing an existing 12-inch or do a 15-inch bypass, and that's the only notes there is. There's nothing showing that anything was ever actually completed around the elevator.
It wasn't. I actually went and looked at that, talked to the landowners adjacent to that property. The elevator's done a lot of improvements over the years. They've expanded, so that has created a lot more surface water. That's obviously, per the discussion, the tile system is inadequate. And Ken just said another thing, there has been nothing improved.
Yeah.
Upsizing the tile essentially, and, you can see where the water, should go, there's intakes and such, that would get into said system, and it just does not handle it, and now the water has taken its own course through the right-of-way to the north.
Right.
Which maybe some would flow there, there's a lot flowing there. When you have the landowner that says, I used to mow the right-of-way, mow the ditch, and he said, I can't mow it now because there's somewhere between a 6-inch and foot deep divot.
Wow.
There with the water, that much surface water runs. So, yeah, it does definitely, I think we're on the right track. If the landowners see that's the right track of that improvement for the system. So,
I think it's key that, however, we're gonna go around that lagoon.
Yep.
But we wanna stay away far enough that we don't mess with the lagoon.
Don't wanna get in the lagoon.
We don't wanna be draining the lagoon.
No, that's why that is, and it is an improvement of the upsizing for the, capacity and to get rid of that water into the tile system and get it where it's supposed to be going.
Well, and did they do the paperwork last week when they were in here for that informal hearing, or meeting? Did anybody do a petition?
Yes, I do have a petition on file, and that was Richard Olson.
Richard? After I gave him a bad time about his check, he was the one that put the petition.
Well, so, yeah, and I think, that was a good informal meeting, and everyone understands with improvement, it is a process, what starts the process, and that, you and I visited with some of the same folks, plus a couple others, and, they're kind of understandable that, yeah, you gotta go through this process, but they see that it does need that improvement, so.
Perfect.
Just keep chewing through it.
I guess the sooner we get kicking it
Yep, so it's
forward,
started.
get to start digging in the ground, so.
Now, how do you normally handle that? Is it something that you contact the engineer? Is it...
It's a public, and
Rick asked
There's a
if anyone was interested.
there's a process, and part of that will be in front of us as to, landowners' preference, because it means it is a requirement for engineering and because of an improvement, if they do have any preferences, and, they haven't yet, at least. Of course, that was an informal meeting, there'll be a formal,
Right.
hearing, meeting, whatever the heck it is, and all this protocol of, hiring an engineer to start the report process, so we haven't got to that yet.
As per Rick's comment last week, he asked them sitting there, does anybody have a preference for an engineer? And,
They really didn't say anything.
what's his name sitting on the end said no, not,
Yep.
and he said that, Jacobson Mustigard had history with that, and that was basically the only comments that I heard.
Mhm.
So,
I heard
like
the
you
same
said,
thing.
I think when it gets to that,
They can speak up and say if they've, researched other projects or other engineers, we kind of, as the trustees, it's kind of tried to go to landowners' preferences.
So,
Yep.
I think they get to the citizens in town about, they're gonna be some opposition.
But, yeah, and means this is a process, and the petition, and the formal petition, we talked to them about the remonstrance and all that, but like Dave said, it's gotta starts the process.
well, I think the thing they have to remember is in a dry year, nobody has issues with water,
No, there's not too much issue.
so,
Well, one of these years it won't be dry.
yeah, we've had other years where we can't move the water fast enough, and that's the only thing. The dry years usually give away to a wet year coming along, and we'll be there before you know it.
Yep.
Yep.
I guess when we get to that next stage, we have the petition, so are we gonna have, do they set a date
Yes,
for the hearing?
yeah.
And when
We'll get some
the
more...
commander comes back,
Okay,
we'll let him,
so we'll discuss that next week.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't wanna mess something up, and I have plenty of chances of that in about 6 weeks, so, 8 weeks, I guess it is. Don't put the cart before November is over. So when Rick comes back, we'll get and probably closer towards the farmers getting done with their field work.
Yeah, I wouldn't...
We won't
It's
schedule
their
something.
protocol on how all this works. I mean, dates to set and hearings to have and, you know, all that fun stuff. I think Bruce brings up a comment, if there's something that involves the landowners, and obviously they're all farmers, you really don't wanna have it next week,
Right.
because...
I was shocked there was many who's here.
There was kind of a funky
Yeah.
whether they couldn't get the
Right.
field, but, yeah, you don't wanna, they wanna be here, and you wanna give them the opportunity to be here.
Right.
Obviously, this isn't something project that will be done this year, physically done, it's just a process. It's a good time to start the process for potentially, and maybe hopefully next year.
Well, the hearing has to be in the paper so long before the hearing anyway, so.
Yeah, so you just have to go through
Yeah,
the
there's
protocol
40
steps.
days, 40 days for that notice. Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'll put that on the agenda for next week then.
All right.
Okay. And that's all I have.
Motion to
That's it.
adjourn.
Well, I gotta go out of drainage.
Motion to go out of drainage.
Second.
Motion and a second to go out of drainage. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Now you can adjourn.
We are out of
Okay,
drainage.
my motion, well, I meant for the drainage.
Oh, okay, sorry.
You guys didn't let me get it out.
We're trying to
I
get it-
know, it's like, geez.
We're trying to get to the- we got one of the-
No, motion to adjourn out of drainage, you just didn't let me get it out.
So now we'll have that motion for
Adjourn? I'll make that motion.
and a second.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Pose same sign, we are out at, 52. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you.
Another successful meeting.
Hey, the sun's out.